Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm the Ordinary Watch Guy and I'm a perfectly ordinary guy who just loves incredible watches. I'm a firm believer that there are incredible watches at all price points, and if you checked out my previous video from Paris, which by the way, thank you so much for such a warm reception to that, we got the opportunity to look at one or two potential Grail pieces there from Patek Philippe and A. Lange & Söhne. This week I want to bring it back down to earth a little bit more, and we'll be looking at a great neo-vintage piece that could just be a bargain pickup for somebody out there. When I say that this piece could be an absolute bargain, I really do mean it. So today we're going to be looking at the Tag Heuer 4000 automatic. This piece is really special to me. It's a watch that is steeped in memories. I was gifted this watch by my mum and dad when I turned 18. It was 1997, and believe me, in the mid 1990s, Tag were just crushing it as the super popular watch brand, particularly for young adult buyers. And Tag was just such a fashionable brand. I mean, we're going back to a time that I think was definitely pre-hype watches, and you could still walk into Rolex very easily, ask for a discount, walk back out with a watch on your wrist. Sensible days. I was asked what type of watch I wanted for my birthday because my dad really wanted to get me a watch to sort of mark that milestone, and I said that I definitely had a preference towards Tag because it was just so cool. And my dad wanted to buy me an Omega, but I thought that was possibly a bit too old-fashioned for my age, that I couldn't really wear that at 18. Tag was definitely a younger and more fashionable brand. My dad asked me for some preferences, and I asked for a watch on a leather strap because I thought that the money would be in the watch and not in the strap, not in a bracelet. And I remember actually when I got the watch, one of my real memories was how soft the strap was on the inside, but the exterior had this kind of textured two-tone sort of tiger stripe thing going across. I think I've managed to track down a photograph of that actually, and I'll put that up for you. When I opened the box through various layers of luxurious packaging, I thought it was the coolest and you know, the most luxurious gift I'd ever received, and it actually was. When I finally got down to the soft leather zip case inside, which is circular, I opened it and found that my dad had swapped it out for a Mickey Mouse watch instead. Sadly, not the classic Gerald Genta Mickey Mouse watch either. It was literally just to see the expression on my face, and he howled with laughter at my disappointment as I lifted the lid. Fast forward a number of years, and I still have this piece and I hold it very close. I use it regularly though, and it's honestly a fantastic watch. It's powered by an ETA 2824 movement, which is the same movement used in the Caliber 5 Tag Heuer, and it gives a modest but usable 38 hours of power reserve, and it's been referred to as a workhorse movement by some. It has COSC spec chronometer standards, and it's been used by Tag, Doxa, Glycine. Consequently, it's a very easy watch to get serviced. 1997 wasn't a year for windowed case backs, so we have a stamped Tag Heuer stainless steel case back to look at instead. The case itself is small but versatile, in the region of 34-35mm, and mine has the bi-coloured presentation with the green Tag logo at the 12. There's a genuinely horrible bezel action, possibly the worst and least useful bezel that I've ever encountered. Generally, this assures me that it was included for decoration only, although it is described as a dive watch. The bezel is stiff, the mark is not particularly clear, wouldn't want to try and read it underwater, and there's no grip on the bezel whatsoever. The idea of trying to move this bezel underwater to me is bemusing. So as far as bezel play is concerned, I'd simply leave it at the 12 and ignore it. There is a date complication, which is fine, and was fine when I was 18 and had excellent vision, but now it's a bit too small for me. It's very indistinct because the date background is colour matched. It's very small, and it has a black type on the dial, and you know the background is gunmetal or somewhere between gunmetal or titanium in colour. So that's not brilliant. But the moaning ends there. I mean, the 34 to 35 millimeter size of the case seems small by modern oversized expectations, but this watch could be worn by a man or a woman, and I still wear it very happily on a 7.25 to 7.5 inch wrist. It works particularly well with NATOs, and it suits a whole range of strap options. To the same extent, it suits a wide variety of outfits, and it can be made to look dressy or sporty. I've seen the lug width advertised at 17 millimeters on Chrono 24, but it's absolutely not a 17 millimeter lug width. I've got this sitting on a 19 mil strap right now, and you know the other straps that I've got for it, the pictures that you'll be probably looking at here are where it's on a dark green sailcloth. That's a 19 mil strap as well. But this is an incredibly versatile watch, and you can change your mind daily as to how you want to present it with the strap. Unlike a number of Tag Heuer watches from the 1990s, I think this case has aged well. No offence to anybody who is a fan of the 1990s Tag Heuer. There were some rotters that didn't look brilliant at the time, and today, well, they're not my cup of tea now. I think it has an ever so gentle kind of Gerald Genta style of flaring at the ears, and the crown is snug within these symmetrical protectors. The lugs are unfussy, and the case is a matte presentation of stainless steel. The dial is very nice. This version is the grey dial with gold lettering, and I think it still looks classy. You can get variants in white. There's a gold option too. To my taste, that looks a bit gaudy now. I can't really say how it was received at the time. There's also a black dial out there somewhere. I think that's a little bit less common. Raised markers are nice, and the hands and markers are loomed, although you have to expect that after a good 20 to 25 years, that loom is probably not going to be what it once was. 200 meters of water resistance is pretty much all that really tells you that it was considered a dive watch, but it doesn't look anything like a modern dive watch today. It's actually quite slender. It doesn't really present in that tool watch kind of attitude for me. The quick setting date and hacking seconds are nice to have, and I'll be honest with you, even now there are some days where I just want to wear this watch and nothing else in my watch box will do. It feels light, it's so easy to wear, and there's absolutely zero risk fatigue from having this on. But here comes the news about the bargain that this is though. This is what we call neo-vintage. It's not quite 30 years old. It's somewhere in between that 20-30 year mark. And if you check out the used prices on Chrono 24, it'll tell you that an absolutely mint condition box and papers version is probably going to cost you between £1,000 and £1,500. The one that I saw at £1,500, which is the most that I've seen, has literally got an untouched presentation. The original strap in mint condition, marked as new old stock or NOS. This being said now, the piece is available with that ETA automatic movement for less than £800 in very good condition, maybe even £700 with a bit of a haggle. And if you wanted to add a quartz watch to your box, and let's face it, a lot of people are coming around to the idea, well, do you know what? There are some stunning bargains in the popular quartz version of this model, and there are plenty of them out there. I found the 28mm ladies version for £200, and the admittedly off-putting gold dial at 35mm for £235, a frankly very wearable grey dial with box, no papers, for £266. I very quickly fill in editing mode here. It's worth pointing out that such was the popularity of Tag in the 1990s that there was just an explosion at that time of really bad fakes. Now, I think most people, if they saw these things, and particularly if they had them in their hands, would know straight away it was a fake. But they're out there. I would imagine over time they've disintegrated into dust, and the ones that were knocking about, I hope, are dead. But that's what comes with watches being particularly hot at a particular period. You get a big spike in a lot of fakes. So I just wanted to throw something on the video very quickly to say, look, do be wary when you're looking at Tag Heuer Neo-Vintage 1990s issued watches, that you do have to go the extra level just to verify what you've got in your hand, and just make sure that you don't pick up one of those really crappy fakes that were knocking around. There was just so many of them out there at the time. I really remember that. Cheers. There are some absolutely cracking examples out there for people to scoop up, and I think that people have just forgotten about this model and they're just sleeping on it. If you find the 34mm diameter off-putting, there's the more recent 38mm diameter out there too. For an automatic Tag Heuer that you can pick up for less than £800 and for less than £400 as a quartz, this is a bargain that really takes some beating. For sentimental reasons, it's the watch that I have to save out of my watch box if there was a fire. But truth be told, you just grab the box and run, don't you? Let's be honest. You might evacuate the kids as well. Have you got a vintage or neo-vintage Tag Heuer in your collection? Are you an owner of the 4000 series? Let me know your thoughts on the watch in the comments below. If you've got any questions about this watch specifically, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might be able to fire at me, or I'll do my best anyway. Don't forget to please give me a like and do subscribe to the channel if, like me, you simply love watches. I'm going to be back next week, and let's do a bit of interactive stuff here. What would you prefer to see next time? We can do an update on the Grail Watch project and the renovation that I'm getting ready. I now have a strap and the watch is pretty much ready. I can show you that and talk you through what I've done with it. Alternatively, I can do a full review on the Christopher Ward C60 Trident Pro 300 in 42mm. If you'd like to see something on Christopher Ward, I'd be quite happy to do a deep dive into that watch. Finally, I could offer you an in-depth look at one of the biggest bargain pieces that you can pick up from Omega at the moment, in my opinion, which is the Speedmaster Racing. It's a gorgeous watch, one of my favourites, and I can show you how to find one pretty easily for less than £3,000, including VAT. So comment below if you've got a preference on any of those options, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now, and thanks ever so much for the continued support. Cheers guys, see you later.